If you've ever been on the fence about chores and kids and when to start, etc., maybe listen to this episode first, so it kind of gives you an idea or a feel or even the motivation to just start.
Parenthood is challenging enough as it is, and getting organized sounds easier said than done. Now, combine these two together, and it's truly a balancing act that many of us struggle with day in, day out. If you're here, it's because you want to know how to get your life and home more organized and structured where the kids are involved too, so that parent life is a little easier and you can focus on what truly matters. Hey there, I'm Dianne 𝗲𝗶𝘀𝗶𝘲, owner and founder of 𝗴𝗹𝗵𝗰𝗲. I created this podcast because I know parents have their hands full. I know this because I have 3 kids of my own. Each week, we'll talk about all things organizing, teaching kids life skills, and contributing to the home, being on the same page with your partner, and raising your kids together while you tidy up, go out for a walk, or just need some real talk. I'm here for you. Thank you for tuning in. Are you ready? Let's do this.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Organized-ish Parent Podcast. Now, today's episode is a special one because it happens to be something that I recorded last year. Now, if you remember last year was just chaotic, well, this was part of it because I actually forgot that I had recorded it, and somehow about a month ago, I found it in this platform where I do all my editing and recording for my podcast. So it's still relevant today because it just so happens that I do have conversations with friends and who are parents. We talk about our kids, obviously, and like what all parents do. And we talk about chores and how they help out at home and if they help out at home. And I get questions often about like, when's a good time to start? What kind of chores do we start the kids on? And how do we implement these chores with them? Now, before I even answer those questions, because I do actually want to create a podcast episode for you for that, answering those questions, have a listen to this episode today because it's all about the 10 reasons why it's important to give kids chores. Now, if you've ever been on the fence about chores and kids and when to start, etc., maybe listen to this episode first, so it kind of gives you an idea or a feel or even the motivation to just start. All right, enjoy. If you're watching this on YouTube, that I am once again in my car recording an episode while I wait for my kid and his breakdancing class to finish. So I am here in the parking lot trying to look very inconspicuous and that I'm just like looking at a video or watching a show or, scrolling through my social media while other parents are on other cars doing their own thing, waiting for their kids. Now, why am I not inside there in the studio? Because there is a seating place that the parents can sit down and wait for their kids. Well, there's other children there, so I don't really want to work while other kids are there. And plus the seats are not that comfortable for me. So yeah, the seats in my car are a lot better. Not that I'm super comfortable, but it's better than some of the chairs that they have inside. Anyhow, thank you so much for being here, for tuning in once again to my podcast show. I really appreciate the fact that you're here and listening in. And while you're here, if you're on YouTube, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the follow button. And if you're listening to the podcast on your favorite platform, then don't forget to hit subscribe or that plus button that you can see hanging around there somewhere. I appreciate all the feedback because in case you didn't know, it gives this podcast show a boost in the platform and it allows for the show to be viewed by a lot more people. All right. That being said, today's episode is going to be about the top 10 reasons why giving kids chores is important. Now, I know you probably know why they are and it's a good thing, but I don't know if we've ever listed the reasons why. And there's probably a lot more than 10, but I just wanted to give it a nice round number. I said, why not? Let's do 10. Now, these are not in any kind of like order of importance. It's just a list that I came up in my head and what I've seen online and experienced too with my kids. So here we go with number 1, more freedom, meaning that because we don't have to take care of everything, but we're actually delegating the tasks, it actually gives us a little bit more time to focus on the really important things that we really need to focus on. And that could be needing to tend to another child that's having some difficulties or some problems with school or just emotional problems that day. Or if it's like you really don't want to mess up this cake that you're making for an anniversary. So it really buys parents time and freedom so that we can focus on the things that really need to be focused on at that moment. Number 2, it sets the kids up for success as adults. Now, if you've listened to this podcast before and you've seen some videos or you follow me on social media, I've mentioned this a few times before, that setting up the kids for success as adults, it starts at home. Meaning that by the time they get to a stage where they have their own place, whether they're living on their own or they have roommates, or it might be even their partner for life, if they know their way around the house, if they know how to clean, how to put things together in order and organized, and cleaning as you go, as you cook, doing laundry, and just the basic life skills of maintaining a home, that is setting them up for success, because now they don't have to learn it and look it up on YouTube and see what so-and-so is doing because, you know, their house is a mess and they don't know what to do, or even relying on their partner or their roommates to help them out and causing a whole bunch of other fights that can cause. So if we set our kids up for success now, it'll just be a whole lot easier for them as they become adults. Number 3, it builds self-confidence and self-reliance. So this goes back to number 2 about setting them up for success, because they have this almost like innately in them of knowing where things go, knowing how to put things back where they belong, and being organized with their own personal things in their home. It actually can extend into the workplace. And then just knowing how to do these skills at home and being able to bring it to the outside world, it builds that kind of confidence and that trust in self. They can function normally, properly, accordingly, follow instructions, and just do things in a certain way so that saves them time with their work. So that's where that confidence comes in, and other people seeing that they're able to work on their own can give them that much more of an advantage, because they can work remotely, let's say, or they don't have to be micromanaged by someone because they are able to work on their own independently. So there's a lot of self-reliance on themselves, and everybody sees that, and it's a good thing. Number 4, finding their place in the home is the baseline for finding their place in the world. Now, I did not come up with this. I read this somewhere a while back, and I thought, yeah, that is so true. It's like when we're having dinner at home. Everybody has their specific spot when we eat, right? Like my husband sits at a table, I sit on his right, my daughter's on the left side, our youngest one is right next to me, and our oldest child is next to my daughter. So every meal that we have, regardless of what it is, no matter where we are, I'm just going to change the camera angle here because someone is driving up and I don't want to look like weird doing this, because I kind of feel weird doing this. Anyhow, back to the seating at the table, it's like there's no wasted time of thinking, oh, where do I sit? Where do I need to be? Or what needs to get done to get the table ready? You find your place in the home. Now, another example is that as a children do chores in the house, and sometimes we assign a specific chore to a specific kid. Like when my oldest was 9 years old and I started the professional organizing business, at that time I decided to teach my kids how to do laundry. So the oldest one was 9 and the youngest one was 5. And then because the oldest one knew how to read, he started putting the laundry in and reading all the different buttons on the machine and kind of discovering how that all works. So if I had to ask him to do the laundry, he knew how to do it. When it came to folding, because our youngest, had small hands and he's still in daycare at the time, his category for folding were the socks. So anytime we did family folding together, he would grab all the socks, pair them up, and then fold them together. And that was his job. So As the activities got bigger or more complicated, everybody found their job and their place so that the task can be done a lot faster and we can move on with our lives. So because they're already used to and accustomed to participating in tasks and doing their jobs properly, accordingly, and in a timely manner, they can apply these same skills and thinking when working in teams, whether it's at school or whether it's, like, let's say if they want to work at a restaurant, or they want to work at this big corporation, or if they want to lead a team, they'll know how to hopefully delegate and work as a group, as a team. So that's that. I know that was long-winded, but I wanted to be very descriptive of finding their place in the home as a baseline for their place in the world. Okay. Number 5, we're halfway there. One of the top 10 reasons why giving chores is important is it gives them that sense of responsibility and a sense of ownership. Now, it kind of sounds like that sense of confidence and reliance, but again, that responsibility back to having that specific task or that chore that belongs to you. For instance, as you know, our kids, they empty the dishwasher every morning. It's separated as a weekly thing, meaning it's the same person who empties the dishwasher for that week. So that sense of responsibility and sense of ownership. Some weeks we don't really have to say anything. Emptying the dishwasher is done. We know who did it, and it makes that person feel responsible. Now, if sometimes the dishes don't get really cleaned very well because they weren't loaded in the dishwasher properly. So the person who's emptying the dishwasher sees that and takes care of it. Instead of putting it in the cabinet or in the utensils drawer, they'll wash and scrub it, and then hopefully they dry it and put it in the cabinet, but they don't. They just put it on the dish rack for it to dry, and that's fine. But we've moved from just emptying the dishwasher and putting everything in the cabinets without checking to now actually verifying and being a little bit more meticulous in their work and being responsible. Sometimes we do pick up a plate and we're like, who emptied the dishwasher? But because there's still like crud on this plate, right? So it gives them that sense of responsibility that, hey, I need to check my stuff a little bit better. Okay. All right, let's move on. Number 6, they get to learn about teamwork at a young age before entering into team sports. So if you decide to start your kids in helping out at home, which is always a great thing, at a young age and working as a team together, I took the example of laundry when my kid was still a toddler. He wasn't in sports at that time, but identifying that without even saying the word teamwork and without even pointing it out, I guess they can see that getting the task done together, it's a good thing. It kind of creates that sense in them that what teamwork is about, and this will help when they go out into the world. And I gave the example of being in part of a team like team sports, but it can go on to extend to being at teams at work and working in a team at school. All right, moving on to number 7 of the top 10 reasons why giving chores is important. Get them to understand how to maintain a home. Now, this one, I kind of mentioned it earlier on about get them ready for success for when they become adults. So it ties into that stage or that phase before they move out, when they're still living at home and they're in the process of moving out or they're thinking about moving out. So again, back to confidence and back to self-reliance. So it's a good thing, basically. They understand what it takes to maintain a home. And they understand the time it takes, time management, the sequence of things. So it's not foreign to them, and they're not running back to you to find out how to do things, or having to call you to go to their place so that you can help them to take care of their house for them. So it gives them the understanding of how to maintain a home, and starting them at a young age is going to just help them on for when they're older. All right, of the top 10 reasons why giving chores is important. Number 8, developing good habits that pays off in the long run. So whenever we're doing tasks at home, because it's on a daily or it's on a weekly, it develops this habit in us, and hopefully they're good habits, that things need to get done at a certain time or within a certain time frame,
or a certain way, right? So for instance, if we do laundry and we leave the laundry in the washer for over a day, what happens? Well, your clothes end up smelling bad. Or if we leave them in the dryer for a long time, they end up coming out wrinkled. And now you have to iron your clothes or wash them again. It wastes money, it wastes time, it wastes energy and all that stuff. So when you're doing tasks often, you get that opportunity of refining the way you do things. By doing this, it develops that good habit in you to always check, to always make sure that things are done properly in a timely manner. You know, the clothes are folded right away, hopefully, after they come out of the dryer, so they're not always wrinkled, or that the clothes are put away right away so that it's not always a mess in the living room or on your bed, for instance, because that's where you do the folding, right? So being on top of chores helps to develop these habits, and hopefully they're good habits. We're getting to the end with number 9 for the top 10 reasons why giving kids chores is important, and that is they are learning basic life skills. I mentioned this earlier, yes. Learning basic life skills at home that will only develop over time, and the ability to take on more complex tasks in different areas in their life, like at school, at work. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but when we do chores, we don't start them off of like doing the whole complex thing from beginning to end, especially when they're young, especially when they just started. So I tend to, when I'm teaching a chore to the kids or a task to the kids, we break it down into steps. For instance, when our kids started to learn how to mow the lawn, it wasn't, all right, go mow the lawn outside in the backyard, go. No, it was almost like in, I think, 4 phases or 3 phases, where phase 1 was all of introduction to what the lawnmower is, the parts, you know, pointing things out. I didn't do this part, my husband did. I watched from afar because I was inside, but I videotaped it, and I saw a lot of pointing at the grass, pointing at the lawnmower. But that was all, I think it was 30 minutes or an hour that they were outside talking about these things. And they got to, you know, mow about maybe one line or 2 on the grass just to get the feel of it. And then phase 2 was to repeat, but doing more of the mowing part with supervision. Okay. And then the times after that, it was still mowing the lawn with them, or them mowing it with us supervising outside, to the point where sometime after they were more independent. They knew when the grass needed to be cut, how many times, whatever direction, because, you know, my husband's a stickler for that, which way the grass needs to be cut. So it was, all in all, is just to say that when we're teaching skills to the kids or implementing chores, that it's always a good idea to start in steps. And they know the process from beginning to end, but you break it up into smaller steps, right? So knowing this is really good because, you know, as they learn these things, they can take this on with them in school and in work. They can apply the same principles with their schoolwork and with their work. All right, we're finally at number 10 of the 10 reasons why giving kids chores is important. Number 10, maintaining an organized home is a value they'll look for in others, like their partners and their teammates and their friends. So back to setting them up for success, and back to when they become adults, when they decide to move out of the house and they're now confident of how to maintain the house. They know approximately how to do it, but they also know that it's a lot of work. And oftentimes doing a big job like maintaining a house on top of, you know, going to work or going to school, it's a lot easier when it's shared with someone else. So it helps them to look for people that will be able to help them maintain the house. You know, looking for good fitting partners that have the same values as them. So whether this is a life partner or just a temporary one where they're just, you know, roommates for school, having these skills
is a value that they will look for in others. And that's a really, really, really good thing. Because once you're on the same page with the people that you live with, you know, for long periods of time, it just makes life easier. It makes things so much better at home and less stressful. And you can actually enjoy, be present, and get to focus on the things that you really need to focus on, right? And you get to share the work and be accountable and responsible for your home, for each other. And this just makes, you know, the home more serene, more happy, and a good place to be. So if you haven't done so already, or if you're thinking of increasing the chores or just starting the chores with your kids, I hope that you got some takeaways and got you thinking about raising your kids with chores. I hope you enjoyed this episode. That's it for me. I hope to see you here again next time. Thank you so much for watching and listening. See you later. Bye.